Welcome back, everybody. And as part of the emotional freedom class, we're now going to talk about happiness and the four emotional needs of human beings. So how do you define happiness? Most people define it as having their needs met. From a very early age, we tend to seek out the approval of others, our parents, teachers, older siblings, our friends, and even what society thinks we should do. We try to emulate our role models, and this is where we derive our happiness from. The problem with this way of living is that it ignores our deepest human needs. Always being connected to approval of others leads to, surely, disappointment and unhappiness when other people are not happy with us. This is not a very stable way of living. What I've just described is happiness for a reason. That is, relying on achievement of goals or external circumstances or what other people think of us to derive our happiness. And now we know that this does not lead to lasting happiness. We can move on from there. Examples would be what happens when we get a promotion and then it's taken away, or when we have a new relationship and that person leaves us, or we get a brand new car and 6 months later somebody hits us and it's destroyed, or we have some financial issues and we no longer can afford to pay all of our bills. All of these things are true stressors, but they're not our source of happiness. So what do we do when these things disappear? Do we just continue to go through ups and downs of life, being sometimes happy and sometimes not? We have to decide and understand that no amount of material wealth, status, things, circumstances, or people's approval of us will ever satisfy our deepest longing. They're all sure to fade and lead to sadness and disappointment. So the happiness I just described is happiness for a reason, whether it's wealth, success, people, places, circumstances, etc. That is happiness for a reason. But there is another type of happiness, and it's with us all the time. This is what we refer to as true joy. True joy, or true deep inner happiness, is very independent of our outside circumstances and our outside material wealth. When we start to understand that we are not our body, our thoughts, our things, or our titles, that simply we are pure unbound awareness or consciousness, then we really start to truly align with what our true Through the practices of Ayurveda, we learn to be happy for no reason at all. Ayurveda opens the door to healing our past. We get to reconnect to our true nature. As we go through this process, we begin to purge our past traumas, or ama, as we call it in Ayurveda. These are experiences that haven't been properly expressed and processed and eventually lead to blockages of energy. We call this ama. We briefly referred to this in the nutrition class as food that can cause toxic energy blocks in our system. But learning to purge or rid of our past experiences and develop new perspectives where we no longer react, we can begin to integrate these past experiences in a more healthy way. So using our external environment to create our happiness has a term, and we call it object referral. This is what creates our ego identity or our personality. Because our external environment, always changing, is unreliable to lead to happiness, we'll never really know our true nature. So the opposite of object referral is self-referral. And this is when we rely on our innermost self, our true essence, for the source of our happiness. Self-referral means that we don't depend on any of our outside circumstances. Our most basic needs that help us to survive this amazing planet have been identified by a psychologist called Abraham Maslow many years ago. These basic needs are water, shelter, food, oxygen, and protection from harm. However, is this really all we think we need to have a happy and joyous life? Basic survival doesn't really guarantee us any kind of joy at all. So as an inquisitive species, we've been able to identify additional needs, not only for humans to survive, but to thrive. And even when these basic emotional needs haven't been met, they can eventually lead to premature aging, premature illness, or even premature death. We call these the 4 A's: attention, affection, appreciation, and acceptance. So it's important to understand that the whole gamut of emotions that a human can feel, from deep sadness to absolute elation and bliss, all are derived from the basic 4 emotional needs either being met or unmet. So for example, attention is the need for us to have people deep listening to us or listening to ourselves. Affection, everybody wants to be deeply cared for. Appreciation indicates that other people notice our special, unique talents and gifts. And acceptance, people will love us or will love ourselves just the way we are without any need to change. So we can simplify the whole process that we're going to be going through by putting the whole gamut of emotions into 2 simple baskets. Those that make us feel good, those when our needs are met, comfort. And when our needs are not met, when we don't feel good, the feelings of discomfort. It's very simple this way. Examples of comfort would be the feelings of love, joy, peace, and acceptance. Feelings of discomfort would include anger and frustration, worry and doubt. So now, what happens when we repress our feelings of discomfort? Generally, we don't have a need to repress feelings of comfort. We love it, we're joyful, so we express it. When we repress feelings about worry and doubt of the future, this can lead to anxiety in the present. When we repress unprocessed emotions, anger, frustrations, sadness, or trauma in the past, this could lead to hostility in our present. And when we have feelings of guilt, this tends to get redirected to some other area in our life. So having put the whole gamut of emotions into 2 different baskets make our feelings and emotions very easy to identify. We know that when we're feeling love and joy, we feel really good. Not much to worry about there. When we feel these feelings of discomfort, we can get really good at practicing the skills that we're going to learn in this course. And we can always respond to have better relationships and better results in our lives. The easier we'll get once we respond from pure awareness. So for the remainder of this section of the course, and even beyond emotional freedom, we'll continue to explore practices to help us to be more aligned with our true nature. Remember, happiness for a reason and happiness for no reason are 2 things that exist. We get to choose which one we want to live by. As social beings, we do tend to rely on our relationships, and it's a really difficult practice, but very, very rewarding. So next we're going to do some group exercises where we can share times with each other where our needs were not met or when our needs were met, and how we can react or respond in a different way, and how we can begin to not rely on other people, albeit they may be in our lives and may be very supportive, but we want to get to be really good at relying on ourselves to meet our needs.